Terry Williams, occupation, school teacher, age 47. From Abel to Wagner. Of course it's not an obsessive-compulsive disorder. It's a way of keeping chaos at bay. Terry Williams lives with his wife Sue and their 4 kids. He finds their sloppiness unendurable. The fact that no one ever seems to know where anything is, what goes where, what time it is, where they're supposed to be, how much anything costs. It sometimes seems to him that the people he lives with are mad. They're always so frazzled, unable to make up their minds, never on top of things. Not only do their lives consist entirely of loose ends and random impulsive acts, but they appear weirdly proud of the fact. So, in the middle of this mass of untidy lives and a house full of old furniture, books, musical instruments, sports equipment, old magazines, broken toys, unwashed plates and baskets of ironing, Terry has created a little oasis of sanity. He calls it his study. His kids call it the OCD corner. Whenever he can, Terry escapes to this room and tries to block out what is going on around him. Terry has 1,317 CDs displayed in custom-made racks that cover one wall. He gave a lot of thought to how they should be shelved. Originally, he was content to let them run from ABBA to ZZ Top. But his itching sense of unease grew, and in the end, he split the collection into 2, classical and rock/pop. So now, in addition to ABBA to ZZ Top, there's a separate section that runs from Abel to Wagner. There were a few minor problemettes along the way, including Vaughan Williams. Frustratingly, this solution has come to seem less successful as time has gone by. So many other obvious and useful subdivisions suggest themselves. On the classical side, for example, there are orchestral, early music, opera, choral. When it comes to rock, there are the 1960s, punk, concept albums, blues, and so on. By having the discipline to put every CD back in its proper place immediately after it has been played, he knows he can lay his hands on any one of those 1,317 CDs within a couple of seconds. What's wrong with that? What else could a sensible person want? The sight of his kids hunting around for one of their CDs that is as likely to be on top of the wardrobe as under the kitchen table astonishes him. Sometimes they track down a case only to discover that it's empty. And yet they appear to think that their utter incompetence is in some way morally superior to his precision. In their world, order, predictability, high standards, method, exactitude appear tainted in some way, a badge of inadequacy. There are no books in this room, although there used to be. In the end, they caused too many problems. He was unable to settle on any satisfactory system. The alphabetical principle didn't help, nor did the historical. The thing about books is that they are of such varying colours, sizes and shapes that they resist ordering. It was no satisfaction to know that 2 books belonged together because they happened to be written by Amos, Pear and Feast, if one was short, fat and orange, and the other was tall, skinny and purple. For a while, Terry decided that colour coding was the best of a number of bad options. The trouble was that he found over time that for some reason its colour was almost the last thing he could remember about a book. In the end, he admitted failure. Books were just too refractory for him. He waited till Sue and the kids were out, boxed up all the books they'd collected over the years, and drove them to the local charity shop. Sue went ballistic. Terry didn't think she'd understand how anxious they'd been making him, so he decided to say nothing. Since then, he knows that she's been watching him carefully. Terry also has 291 DVDs. These are arranged alphabetically. Film has so many subdivisions that you might end up with only a couple in each category, and that would scarcely be sensible. Like CDs, they look pleasingly uniform on the shelf. None of that mutinous inconsistency that books bring into a room. The problem here is that kids actually want to watch them from time to time. And although Terry would secretly like to say no, he realises that would probably be thought unreasonable. But they can never be relied on to bring anything back. And empty spaces on the shelf make him uncomfortable, nag at him like a missing tooth. He knows that if he left things to them, he'd be reduced to hunting through the larder or under a bed in order to recover a much-loved rom-com. The solution, when it occurred to him, was obvious. Ask them to sign each DVD out, put the chitty in the place of the DVD case, and refuse to lend them anything else until the previous one had been returned and the chitty cancelled. Sue seemed to think he'd gone barking mad. "These are your kids," she said. "This isn't a lending library." He tried to argue that his new system would benefit them because they would have the certainty of knowing where any film they might want to watch would be at any given time, that it would save them disappointment. She said that she was beginning to get seriously worried about him, that his serotonin levels must be critically low, that she most certainly wasn't going to participate in any of his absurd obsessions and rituals, that the kids most certainly would not be filling in chitties in their own house, that they're kids, for God's sake. Terry has been musing on her response. He really doesn't get it. What he doesn't understand about her is that she doesn't seem to realise that you can either be a slave to all this stuff or its master.